So you've got the seller data, the comic book value data, and when it's all in alignment, you've got a strike, right? Hey there, I have an unboxing video for you today, and this order is very typical of an order that I place, except for a little bit of a difference. And I know that unboxing of comic book orders can sometimes seem routine or similar, but what I find is that honestly, every order, there's some unique thought process, or there's just maybe some particular set of circumstances that leads me to a particular order. What happens with me is I will buy books online from different sellers, and I data enter everything about the order: the books inside, the grades, whether or not the books can be pressed, what type of pressing, everything. And then I compare all of that data, sort of the acquisition data, and compare that to the values. So if a particular raw book in this grade is such and such value and so forth, and so I mash all of that together to provide me with some analysis and projections for the future, whether it be future selling, buying, etc. The sort of unique set of circumstances with this particular order that I'm going to unbox is I was more accustomed to buying books from this particular seller, in the $2 or $3, $5, $10 price range. But this seller on Atomic Avenue had some more expensive books. And I had ordered from the seller several times and was building kind of a digital trust with this particular seller. I haven't met the person. I'm sure they're a fine, upstanding individual, but the trust of delivering me good books at a reasonable grade, at a reasonable cost, and all of that kind of combined with my analytics that really look at these things, that say this book at this price is a good purchase, it's a good buy, good value. It all sort of lined up. And this is kind of what I do: is I build up the trust. So I will place small orders with sellers, grade them, catalog them, and if I find that maybe they're overgrading, I stop buying from them, and move on to another seller until I find a collection of online resources that I can trust. Trust in terms of delivering books, yes, but not delivering me damaged books. That grades are, again, within range. Maybe they are overgraded, but they can be improved, and so on. Like, there's a lot of factors there. But once I build up sort of like a white list of sellers that I'm comfortable with, then when the larger books come in, and they're large, by large I mean it's going to cost more. They're either borderline keys or keys, maybe desirable covers and things like that, but the cost is a lot higher than I'm comfortable with. Then I trust myself to purchase from that seller, and I certainly trust that the seller is going to reciprocate that trust and deliver me good books. So let's unpack this order, and I'll probably end up grading the books as well. It's not a particularly large order, but there's some fun books in there. Again, the theme is typically, right in the wheelhouse of the books that I typically get. But I'll kind of explain, what the books are and why they were a bit more expensive, and then we'll go over the numbers and see if, in fact, I got good value. So let's get this order unpacked and take a look at the books inside. Okay, here is the order. This is an order from Atomic Avenue from the seller T-Wolf, which I've purchased from in the past. And we're going to go ahead and open this up and see which books I got this time from Atomic Avenue. So here we go. So this is tough because it's completely surrounded by tape. So I don't want to dig and accidentally go all the way through, because then I'll be cutting through comic books. So I'm trying to almost pull back a little bit. But even there, like, I went in as I was cutting and my hand dropped. I'm just paranoid that I'm going to cut through the books. So let's see if we can get into it a different way. All right, we're in. Tape, tape, tape. Tape City. This is where those Gemini mailers are just... It's like time is money. For a few pennies more, you can just bulk order them. I hardly use any tape when I ship books using that Gemini mailer. So you end up spending your entire supply budget on packing tape. This one's stuck and bending. The comic. Let go, let go. Okay. All right. So, old, dirty bags and boards. So one of my favorite things to do is to take a nice stack of older books like this and put them in fresh, clean bags and boards. It's just so satisfying. All right, let's get into the order and see what's in here, assuming they're not all taped together. Keep working at it. Okay. Yeah, we got hair, we got all kinds of fun stuff on these, and let's just get into it. All right, so the first book up is Alpha Flight 51. The significance in this one is this is the first artwork of Jim Lee at Marvel Comics. And I'm not a big, like, first creator something or other. Typically what happens, like, first Simonson Thor, that is a key by itself. The fact that it's Simonson's first Thor is just like icing on the cake, right? But this book has value. Jim Lee, like, is ultra collectible, so regardless of what's going on at DC right now. So let's take a look at this book. Again, these were all purchased from the same seller, and they were all listed in near mint. So we've got a little bit of a color break there by the price. Several tiny little spine ticks. They're all just slightly, like, hairline color breaking all the way down. So, you know, that's... A press would help, but then you just be left with the little, like, ghost ticks. Let's look at the back. The back feels wavy. I don't know how many times I looked at this Chips Ahoy ad as a kid. I don't know if this needs cleaning or not. It doesn't look particularly faded. It looks, you know, pretty bright here. Spine looks all right. So it's not bad. It's not bad. Might just clean up a little bit. It might just be worth just like a rub down and a press. So then it's just a matter of would I actually do that. It's a solid book. It is, I would say, as soon as I'm about to grade, I always find something. I should just wait. But there's something going on in here, in the trade, right there by the A and the F. Right in here, if you watch it in the light, there's some sort of paper fold in the G as well. So I think probably some general humidity and stuff would help this book. I feel like I could probably get this up to a 9.6 if I needed to, but I think as it stands, I would give it a 9.2. The corners look really, really good. So that one I'm going to give a 9.2. So, and I'll go ahead and grade these books. I feel like grading them today. And I think that helps you too kind of understand, at least it helps me understand, you know, the projections and the potential value. If you just kind of guess and say they're all 9.4s, well, clearly I'm giving this one a 9.2, so they're not all 9.4s. So a 9.2 CP. And this is something I said at the beginning is when you're building up kind of it's trust, but it's also your confidence in the seller to deliver. And I haven't gone through and put the stats together. Right now, it's more just from the data entry side. But what I want to do is I want to put some reports together that shows just kind of like if you're getting a particular book from a seller, on average, what is the grade? Yes, but also what is the chance that it could also be fixed? Because let's say for one particular seller, they're averaging a a 9 or a 9.2, but a lot of the books I indicate could be fixed with a press. Well, then to me, they're still worth buying from. So I'm kind of on the fence with that, right? Because I would prefer not to have the books come with any defects. I'd rather just go ahead and have them clean and ready to go, turnkey, if you will. But that's not always the case. Now, right off the bat, so this is Amazing Spider-Man 227, and we have a page tear right on the back. So something that these sellers don't notice. So I'll at least dig out the tear. I like to do this. I hate the fact that this has just been sitting this way the whole time. So I'll dig the page out with my fingernail and at least get it more presentable than just being completely like lopped off there. But yeah, that's a bad tear. But at least the page will fold down. So there, that should look better. Yeah, that looks better, I think. But unfortunately, a tear like that, and I've started to put together like a cheat sheet for myself. Like when I run into sort of, I wouldn't say common defects, but certainly defects that I've seen before. I want to be consistent with my grading, so I put a cheat sheet. So I believe that we start there as an 8.5. Page tears are awful. They're you would think that just like spine ticks and spine damage are going to be what you're looking for in terms of grading a book. But if there are tears, you can forget it. So I bought this book. I love Amazing Spider-Man. I did not have this book in my run. And I'm not suggesting I would ever have a complete run of Amazing Spider-Man Volume 1. But any books that I'm missing from my run in my collection, I definitely seek out. Anything with Black Cat, I'm all over. So this kind of checked a bunch of boxes. Unfortunately, the book is not near mint. So just real quick, let's go ahead and finish the grade. So you take the worst defect, which in this case is that tear, and that's the 8.5. It's also dirty. So now we're looking at like the 8.0 territory. It definitely needs a clean. And then on top of that, we have some corner wear there, corner wear here. There aren't any other creases or wrinkles, and then just general spine tick damage. Very similar to the Alpha Flight 51, though. So from a spine perspective, it's probably a 9 on the spine. But knowing that we probably are dealing with an 8 on the back, it's also dirty on the front there. Again, that would be definitely a cleanup effort, but we're now dipping in. I'm going to give it a... right now I'm on the fence between a 6.5 and a 7. And again, what I do is when I kind of settle in on a couple of grades, the first thing is we'll go with the lower one because you're better to be wrong. It's better to undergrade than overgrade. So I feel like I want to lean 6.5, but I don't believe it's not fine. It does have the tear, yes, but I mean, even looking at it, that looks better. So even in a press, that would come out a little bit nicer. So I'm going to go with a 7. I think that's fair. I think 6.5 is too harsh. Once you start getting into the 6s and the 5s, that's to me where you start to see a lot of like, just you see like the same color breaking spine damage. You start to see it on other places in the book, and that's really where I kind of draw the line between getting into the fine and very good areas. Those sort of like right smack, the 4, 5, and 6. It's the hardest grade for me to come up with. I'm sure I have books in my collection that I gave a 3 that are probably 5.5s, but I'm going to go with 7 on this one. This one, I will be honest, I'm probably going to contact the seller and just leave him a note and say, hey, ASM 227 had a tear on the back, just to let him know. And if you're looking at the book going, really, the tear brings it down that much, I feel like that's a strong 9.0, could be cleaned up. I did not indicate that it's a clean and pressed candidate because of the tear. So that's what I mean. So even if I could take it from a 7 to an 8, unless this was a really mega key, it's not worth it. So 7.0 on that one with a tear. So I would say not a strong start, but maybe if we get the worst out of the way first, then we'll be okay. Another book, same category, ASM 266. The symbiote black suit Spider-Man, and a book I didn't have, and a book that has some potential. Obviously, the miswrap is what it is. So let's take a closer look and see if we can examine. And this is very typical, again, of some of the sellers on Atomic Avenue. This is kind of, I would say, this is what the near mint kind of looks like, which is just slightly wavy, slightly dirty, pressable defects, but it's going to take a little bit of time and attention. Like the whole border around this ad is dirty. The spine is okay. It's really more this corner. So like if I got a book like that from Midtown or TFA, I'm already like thinking, okay, 9.2 to 8.5, depending on the rest of the book. So right now we're probably sitting at a 9.2 clean press candidate. Yeah, there's some dimples in here, right at the top. This is particularly tough. So it's a good and a bad thing that you get the miswrap, because the miswrap will actually hide some of the spine damage. But honestly, even taking a super close look, the spine looks really, really strong. I don't see really anything but a few hairline. And again, if it's white, you can't even see it anyway. So the spine looks really, really nice despite the miswrap. I think it just needs a nice clean and press. There's some creasing here in the corner box right up there by Spider-Man's hand. So then I'm thinking it's probably a 9. And I'm going to go with a 9. I really hesitate every time I give out the grade, because then I probably overthink it. But I'm just going back to that corner with the dirt. I could make an argument that it's an 8.5. Actually, both corners have a problem. Both of the corners have a problem there. But the structure of the book is really good, and it's white pages as well. So it is something I would probably spend a little bit of time with, trying to clean it up. There's also creasing in here. I'm just seeing more creases and dents. So I'm going to go 8.5, but clean and press candidate. And so what that does is when I mark it with that CP and I put it into my system, then it will take the current grade that I gave it, which is 8.5. It will calculate the 9.8 to kind of give me a range. And then I build a list off of that data that says, based on these ranges, potentially me being able to increase the value of the book with a little bit of comic book CPR, it just sorts them by comics that have the most potential. And the reason I do that is to see which books are worth my time. Okay. One of the things that I'm always kind of a stickler about is the wrapping. I'm all about presentation, and this is so horribly miswrapped. And look, this is interesting. So ASM 347. So this seller, who I trusted, bought this from my comic shop, and they listed it as a 6.0. Right? ASM 1963 63, first series, number 347. So it was listed as a 6.0. This seller listed it on Atomic Avenue as near mint. I'm not even going to bother grading it. I trust my comic shop's grade. I assume it's the same book. So I'm going to give it a 6.0. I'm going to leave it as is because I'm going to take, again, some photos of this and send it back to the seller. So this is really disappointing. I spent a lot of money on this book. I think this is my second copy, and it too did not live up to the near mint hype as advertised. So this is kind of unfortunate when you start to build up your faith and confidence in a seller, and then you start to get books like this. They end up moving off of that white list and onto a different list. So let's see here. Batman Long Halloween. This is another one. Watchmen, Secret Wars, Long Halloween. A lot of these limited series that are, I would say, I want to say seminal, but certainly popular, mainstream, classic, you name it. Trying to get them all as single issues if possible. And let's see if that damage was on the bag. Yeah, I thought that there was a bunch of color rub or something that was just on the bag. But what I did notice right here, right away, is crease right in that cardstock cover. That's really unfortunate when the books have the cardstock and they're damaged like that. You will see some spine splitting, corner damage on cardstock covers. But when you see these thicker cardstocks, they're meant to help, I guess, give the book a bit more weight, make it feel solid, but to kind of protect it a little bit too. There's also, and this could be manufacturing, but I've been burned on this too. There's like a line that is going up and down the book there. You could see right there in the heart, and it just goes all the way straight down. Very subtle too. You look on it straight on, looks fine. Hold it up to the light, you see the line there. So that's unfortunate. So I'm going to start there with the line as a 9. I don't know if it's a scratch or not, but it's really ugly. And then that looks really bad. So now we're digging into the 8.5. Let's look at the back. Back looks okay. There is some scratching, fingerprints. Fingerprints could be mine. I don't know. But it's just all scratched up. All kinds of stuff. So color rub here. These are the kind of things that you just have to go through. And now I'm thinking it's a 7.5. I'll probably leave it there as a 7.5. I could be too harsh on it. And I'm trying not to let the other books influence me. Because I'm already kind of seething about this order and disappointed. Again, there's a couple books left that could change it. But I don't know if the 7.5 was too harsh or not, but it's all kind of scratched up and everything. I'm on the fence, 7.5 and 8. I feel like I'm getting emotional about it, and let's just leave it as an 8. Nothing to clean and press on that one. It's too scratched up, plus that the damage right by the spine. So yeah, not loving the Long Halloween number 5, the Valentine's Day issue. All right, so it does, at least it looks better in my bag and board than that nasty, old, dirty bag and board. Let's see, I'll save that one for last. Do these in a particular order. How about X-Men 5? So at least it's wrapped properly. So we've got that. Yeah, it's almost like you can smell the age just coming at you when you peel back the tape on these. Okay, X-Men 5. This is the second Omega Red. What a wonderful Omega Red Wolverine cover by Jim Lee. X-Men 4 and 5. Again, 4 is the book to have for Omega Red, but 5 you can get very affordable. So this book looks much, much nicer. And just like I talk about first impressions, the first impression of this book as I hold it is it's a 9.8 candidate. So I'm going to kind of work off of that assumption and see if I can find anything that breaks that theory. And it looks really clean, really nice. The spine looks all right. So far, so good. I am concerned about this corner right down there. Let's flip it over and see if we can get a better shot. And I think it's just a little bit of bindery tearing there, but nothing really crazy or out of the ordinary. So I would say it's borderline acceptable. There is a little bit of dirt on the back. It's subtle, but it's there. Tough one. Because I want to say it's worthy of just kind of a wipe down on the back and then a press, but it's borderline just fine as it is. So I'm trying to find some other defect. I'm looking in here. I don't know if something is on the end right in there. That could be cleaned up. So there's a couple of I know I'm starting to see things maybe that don't exist, just so I can give it a 9.6 and not a 9.8. That's what I'm going to go with, 9.6. There's also just a slight crease in there. So I'm finding like a lot of just little things that are adding up for me, but I am going to say that is a clean and press candidate on that one. So a newer book, I would say. Not that much newer than like the ASM 347, but maybe the book benefited from being newer and it wasn't as damaged or just didn't have as much time to be abused in somebody's collection, but not bad. You know, and you could certainly just say, I don't want to clean and press it. I think there's value in a 9.6. I don't want to take a chance of messing it up, and I'm just going to take it as a 9.6. And it's a beautiful book. Very, very minimal damage. Most of it is on the back. But you know, I'm looking for 9.8s. Okay, the last two books. Here is Wonder Woman #1. A lot of the information surrounding creator George Perez and his health. It certainly inspired me to kind of go back and look at some of the books that he was really very closely associated with. The books that you think about when you think about George Perez: Crisis on Infinite Earths, New Teen Titans, Wonder Woman, Avengers, and the list goes on. And I've just been inspired to look at those runs of his and start to see if I can grab them. Okay, so let's take a look. Up there in the logo looks really clean. I see a little bit of an issue right there, but not too bad. It's a hairline spine tick. Right in here, there is something that's color breaking. Right in there's another hairline, but not bad. So again, first impressions, 9.4. Could be pressable. A little bit of a crease in there. Staple's off. Weird. So that's going to give anybody trouble. And when I see that too, I always hesitate working on a book like that. Corner has a little bit of damage, a little bit of a crease down here, right in there. So then it's like 9.2. It's probably a 9.2. I think that's what I'd like to give it. Unless that corner there. Let's look through and see. My goodness, the detail, the level of detail, you just don't get this anymore in your books. Just gorgeous George Perez artwork. It looks like that crease is only in the cover, so this is where now it's borderline 9. I think it is pressable. I think it could be kind of pressed, and honestly, the press would just kind of make it pop a little bit, more so than really correcting a lot of pressable defects. But I think I want to go with a 9. I'll go with a 9 and a press. I don't think it needs to be cleaned, and then you just have to deal with that staple being offset, and the pages are kind of stuck together in a particular spot, so you have to kind of put your sandwich together a little bit differently just to protect protect everything from that staple. But if you could do that, I think it probably could go up to a 9.4, 9.6. So give that one a 9. Okay, one more book to go. This was I saved it for last because it is the book that I paid the most for in the order. So I had all the confidence in the world going in with this seller that it was going to be okay based on past data. And let's see how this one turned out. So this series coming very soon to Netflix. The cast looks great. I'm really, really looking forward to seeing how it turns out. And that series is Sandman. And this is the Doll's House Part 1, Sandman number 10. It is definitely not a 9.8. I can already see as I move it back and forth in the light, as you probably can see as well. There's just some general creasing and waviness here right on the cover. So it looks to be white pages. This is going to be tough to press because it has a poster inside. Wes Craven's The Shocker. Pages look good. They look white. They'd be off-white to white at worst, I believe. Let's look at the back, and then we'll revisit the front. Something there. Also up in here, some creasing. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to need a press to get some of that out. It feels like a 9. Some corner, there you go. Some corner folding, creasing right there, probably in all the pages. Maybe not. Nope, just the cover. Back to the front. Right there, that's unfortunate. That's right smack in the middle of the book. So you just kind of, your eyes just gravitate towards that. So like there it looks okay, and then you move it in the light, and then you can see that spine tick right there. So if all things are fine and there's that nasty spine tick, again, that's where you're thinking like 9.6-ish right there. But it I don't know, it just feels like a 9. I don't know how else to describe it. I mean, you could argue it's a 9.2. Maybe I would argue for that being a 9.2. Tearing, the bindery tearing is really bad though. You know, worse than usual, I would say. So there's that too. So that's where I'm going to leave it as a 9. A great book, still in a 9, but it is what it is. And now I just have to question whether or not I would consider pressing it. And I think I would. I feel like it could go from a 9 to a 9.4. And for that particular book and the price I paid, it would be worth indicating that some time could be spent on it. So we'll go with a 9 press. So, a little disappointing. There wasn't a single 9.8 in that order. And we'll look at the data, but the data will show you that that order did not average out to near mint 9.4. Again, I'm just trying to get the best out of the books, the best out of every order. These are fantastic comic books. Sandman 10, Wonder Woman 1, X-Men 5, Long Halloween, great ASM books, first Jim Lee's Alpha Flight. So really awesome. Just wanted them to be in better shape than I got them. That's all. So let's put the grades into the order. Let's look at the order analysis, look at what I paid for it, and see if at least maybe from a fair market value perspective, I was on track. But let's take a look, see how it turned out. All right, here we go. This is the order breakdown of an order I placed with Atomic Avenue on February 17th, 2022. Again, from a condition perspective, this was disappointing. Again, great books, just not arrived in the condition I was expecting. It was a $217.35 order, so very expensive. And I didn't feel like I was getting that type of value back in return. But The books are what they are. Let's wrap this up and get through this. I went ahead and data entered the actual grades that I assigned the books, or in the case of 347, I left the My Comic Shop 6.0 grade on there. And then plugged in the fair market value from cover price here. So these values came back. And then also the CGC values in the grades that I assigned. And then we looked at the total cost, raw value, and CGC value. And I changed the titles. They used to say raw profit, CGC profit. And every time I had to explain, I don't really mean profit, I mean value. So I just changed it to value. Profit comes into play when you've completed a sale transaction and you're comparing the final sale to what everything costs and whether or not you turn a profit. I'm not selling these books, I'm acquiring them, so I'm just looking at the value. So raw value losing over $15, and if I sent in the books that had any potential to get a decent grade back, I would have also lost $47.25. So again, not everything's easy. It's not easy to do this. I really trusted this seller, and now I'm questioning myself more than the seller. I am going to send a message to him specifically around the 347 and the 227 ASM. That this one had a tear, and this one just was straight up graded by My Comic Shop as fine. The rest of the books are on me. I feel like the near mint range on Atomic Avenue, that fits the criteria. Those are pressing candidates. Some of them are anyway, so I could move them up. The X-Men 5 did get a 9.6, so I'm trying not to be overly critical of how I approach this order, but it is what it is. Let's talk about Sandman 10. Sandman 10 in a 9.0 has a CGC slab value of $69. I paid, I guess I can look over here. I paid $95 for that book. That's a lot. Again, I was expecting to receive it in a 9.4. I didn't get it in a 9.4. The current fair market value on cover price is $100. So I actually paid $5 less than fair market value for what it's worth. If you're looking at it and you're like, that's a lot for a comic book. It's a lot for a Sandman book. It was actually 5% off fair market value. Overall, again, not great, especially when it comes to CGC and its potential there. So, again, there's some, I did mark, here, let me show you, I don't always do this, but when I mark the pressing status here, so those books that I felt I could clean and press, I give a CP, and the books that just could straight use a press, I give a P. I didn't really think any of these would require a humidity bath, or if I'm willing to do that. And then what I do is I look at, this is what I was talking about earlier with potential. So back to that Sandman book, again, why did I buy a $100 book for $95? You're supposed to find those in dollar bins, flea markets, in the dumpster behind the comic store. I paid that much for the potential. A 9.8 of that book is currently going for $776. So I was looking at the 9.4 thinking if I could get it in a 9.4, have it grade out at $215, that'd be great. I would love that all day, double my money. But unfortunately, it didn't work out that way because of the issues with the overall condition coming back from the seller. Could that book be pressed into a 9.4? Possibly. 9.6? I don't know. I don't think so. Probably 9.4 is its ceiling. But nevertheless, it could be improved. And that's what I was talking about earlier too, is when you're looking at sellers or you're looking at ways that you acquire books, even if you're going to LCS, if your LCS has books on the shelf and they're always like kind of falling forward and they have that crease right in the middle, then what is that? Are those 9.2s, 9.4s, reader copies? Then you could start to summarize the type of books that you're getting off of the shelf at your LCS or in the back issue bins, and really just kind of come home and look, and if they have a dollar bin, what is the average grade of your dollar bin books, so that you can just kind of grab them quickly, because ultimately those are roughly 8.0s. It depends. Depends on how you want to do it. I use online sellers. I buy blind. So it is a complete mystery in terms of the condition. And that's why I look at the data here just to see, where each seller is at in terms of what I would expect. Let's go into the ledger stats too while we're here and just see, again, am I being too critical on this particular seller? So if I searched for this seller here, let me go back to the desktop real quick. And we can see 13% chance to get a 9.8. Average grade 8.71. I didn't look at it before, but it's dipped. It's down. I think the order itself was an 8.2, so it's definitely being pulled down. But there's some other sellers. Here's another one from Atomic Avenue at a 9.15. Another one around a 9, and so on, 9.13. So again, that's where I think I just need to do a better job at realistically looking at these and start to shy away from really any seller that's not really getting in the ballpark of a 9.2 consistently. Really just needs to be cut out. And with a low percentage to get a 9.8, should that X-Men 5 had been a 9.8? Probably, yeah. That's what I would expect. At least let that sneak in there. So the data ultimately will guide you. It will not lie. You saw when I was grading, I was starting to get emotional. I was starting to get frustrated, and I was kind of downgrading some books. That's where you have to kind of check your emotions, step away, take a deep breath. If you spend a lot of money and you invest in this hobby like this, sometimes things aren't going to work out. And you have to just kind of find other ways to appreciate the books. And I'm going to love when, they cover A Doll's House on the Netflix Sandman show. And I'm going to be happy to own that book. And it might be something worth working on to see if I can get it up into a 9.4, and then maybe I won't feel as kind of bummed out by it. But there you go. They're not all winners. They're not all home runs. And I'll have to make some tough decisions. Maybe it's time to go through the list of sellers on Atomic Avenue that I'm buying from and make some cuts. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for watching. Happy collecting, and see you next time.